When it's come to getting the best gaming performance for your money, nothing matters more than the GPU. But with so many options out there and price jumping all over the place, finding the perfect GPU can feel like a nightmare. You want something affordable, reliable, and powerful enough to handle your favorite games without turning them to a slideshow. That's why in this video, I decided to test the most loved bucket GPU ever made, the one everyone used to swear by, to see if it's hold up today. Can it still deliver smooth gameplay in 2025, or has time finally caught up it? Let's find out. Right here, I got the RX 580, one of the most iconic bucket GPU ever made. But before we get to Nogastic, it's worth noting that there are a ton of versions out there. A 4GB model, an 8GB model, and even that strange cut down versions called RX 580 2048 SP, which you usually find floating around AliExpress. Today, we're talking about the real deal. The first 8GB version is originally launched in 2017 with an MSRP of $229, going head-to-head with NVIDIA GTX 1016 6GB. Under the hood, the RX 580 was basically an overclocked RX 480, same Polaris architectures, same 2304 stream processors, 144 TMUs, 33 ROMs, and 2 56-bit memory buses with either 4GB or 8GB of GDDR5. The only real difference? Power draw around 185 watts compared to 480's 115 watts, but that extra juice gives is likely higher clock and better performance. Fast forward to 2025, after a year of crypto mining craze, GPU storage, and wide resale market. Now, you can grab an RX 580 for under $100, sometimes even $60 on eBay. But here's the catch. Many of these cards spending years running 24/7 in mining rich, meaning their VRAM and power deliveries had been pushed to the edge. Some might still work fine, whilst others can crash or artifact underloads. On top of that, AMD drivers support to other Polaris cards is starting to fall apart, with a new upgrades introducing bugs, performance regressions, or even breaking compatibilities with certain modern games. Alright, now for the fun parts, game testing and overclocking. We're gonna push the RX 580 to its limit and see how many FPS this classic card can still deliver in 2025. We're jumping into CS2, the most played games on screen right now. Running us Full HD on low settings, I grabbed data from Deathmatch, and the results were actually pretty solid. FPS hover around 160 during fight, sometimes climb up to 190 while moving around the map. The GPU clock is as full 30-40 MHz boost, sleeping just 7 to 80 watts, barely half of this rate, 185 watts TDP. The settings you can easily take advantage of 165 Hz monitors, but me being me, I want more. So, I pushed the overclock a bit, bumping a car to 1460 MHz and memory 2250 MHz, and boom, we gain an extra 10 to 20 FPS. The game stays stable around 117 to 180, sometimes hitting 200 FPS, and temperatures barely crossed 16 degrees. Cool, efficient, and surprisingly comfortable for a card this old. Next up, we got PUBG running at 1080p with very low presets, and honestly, I'm impressed. So RX 580's 8GB is holding steady here with an average of around 100 FPS, peaking a bit higher in open areas and only dripping slightly during intense firefight. GPU utilization is marked at 99%, meaning it's pushing as hard as it can, while power draw stays moderate and temp hover around 67 degrees, perfectly safe territory. For a card that's several generations old, this is generally solid performance. If you're into competitive shooters and don't mind low settings, these things do get job done. Smooth gameplay, no surges, no excuse. After the overclock, PUBG is now running at 120 FPS, a nice bump from before, making the game feel much smoother overall. This level of performance is perfect for competitive players who want consistent high frame rates without breaking banks, or for bucket gamers looking to squeeze every last drop of power from an older setups. It's not cutting ego, but it's fast, responsive, and more than enough to 1080p eSport titles. Moving on, GTA 5. The RX 580s put up around 70 FPS on average, which is still a really enjoyable experience for a card that came out in back 2017. That are solid results. Gameplay feels smooth, no major frame drop, and is perfect for casual gamers who just want to kill scenes around low shadows or replay the story without any stutterings. After overclocking, GTA 5 saw only a small bump, averaging around 80 FPS, just a few frames higher than before. So, not a huge improvement. The game was already running smoothly, and it seems like GTA 5 just isn't pushing the RX 580s hard enough to really benefit from that extra clock speed. Still, it's nice to see a bit more constantly in the frame pacings, even if the overall FPS gain is minimal. Jumping into Minecraft, no shaders, 8-chunk renders, the RX 580s is a rocket. I saw peak around 250 FPS in open area and dipped to about 120 FPS when the world got busy. That's a huge headroom windows and it still feels blurry the whole time. On a 144, 160 side is that monitors you really notice the smoothest even at the low ends. 120 FPS keep movement crisp and input snappy. In short, tons of frames to space for buildings, exploring, or sweetie PvP. After overclocking, Minecraft saw more but clear improvements. The FPS climbed by about 20 frames, averaging about 170 to 180 FPS most of the time. It's not a massive lift, but every extra frames help when you're running around or building complex work. Once shaders are turned on, the RX 580's performance take a noticeable dip. FPS set around 50 frames per second, down from the triple digits range earlier. The added global illuminations, reflections, and soft title are clearly pushing the card to its limits, saturating both the memory bandwidth and GPU core. It's a great middle ground for players who values visual fidelities over raw frame rates. The world looks stunning, even if very frames count carries a bit more weight. Jumping into Black Myth Wukong, easily one of the most demanding AAA titles out right now. The RX 580s managing to hover around 65 FPS at 1080p low settings. And honestly, that's a pretty respectable for mid-range card from 2017. The gameplay feels surprisingly smooth during explorations and lighter combats. True, in heavy action scenes, you definitely feel the dips. Compared to older titles like GTA 5 or CS2, this one really shows the RX 580's age. But the fact that it still delivers a playable experience here says a lot about how catchable this GPU remains even in 2025. After the overclock, Black Myth Wukong sits around 70 FPS at 1080p low. And honestly, that's solid. The gameplay feels snappier, animation flow a bit smoother, and input response get tighter. It's not a massive lift, but it's noticeable enough to make combat feel more alive. For anyone gaming on a bucket rig, it is sweet spot, smooth, playable, and still impressive for a card that's pushing 8 years old. Jumping into The Witcher 3 at low settings and 1080p, the RX 580s managed to hold steady around 65 FPS. It's not breaking any record, but it delivers a smooth enough experience for exploring Novigrad or slicking through drowners without major stutters. After overclocking, The Witcher 3 climbed up to around 75 to 76 FPS, giving the game noticeably smoother feels. The boost isn't dramatic, but enough to make the camera pans and combat transitions look cleaner. After 8 years, the RX 580 still holds its ground surprisingly well. It's not a powerhouse, it won't worse, but for 1080p gaming on the buckets, it still delivers a smooth and reliable experience, especially if you don't mind tweaking settings a little bit. Would I recommend buying this now? Only if you find a clean one at a steal. Otherwise, save up for something newer. If you enjoyed this video, drop a comment, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more GPU throwbacks.